Since we last met, we have beaten Liverpool in both the Champions League and the Premier League. However, we have lost to Celtic and most recently, Everton. Welcome to Football Manager and Wolverhampton Wanderers, where things remain still a little baffling. Before we go any further, those two losses to Celtic and Everton are the only two losses we've had since we last met. A bunch of draws in there, but also a bunch of wins, usually by a one-goal margin. It's been a tenth old time, particularly October, where every single game was won, but by one goal. Not quite the case with the 8-3 against Norwich in the Carabao Cup. Yeah, 8-3. Didn't see that one coming. But then we also beat Manchester United, only then to lose to Celtic. Yeah. Football Manager. But 5 teams dispatched in October by one-goal margins, followed up with draws against Crystal Palace and a comeback against Ajax. Were then followed by a 4-0, 3-0, 2-0, 1-0 victory over the remainder of the November fixtures. I was really expecting Bournemouth to be 0-0 off the back of that, but Shaquille Van Persie, 87th minute, stopped that one from being the case. And then, most recently, of course, losing at home to Everton. All in all, though, is, realistically, 1 loss, 1 draw in the Premier League since we last met. Sees us 5th. There are no unbeaten teams. Arsenal only have 1 loss. That was to Crystal Palace, because of course it was. A couple of teams without any draws, both Manchester United and Brighton at opposite ends of the table as things stand, but no draws for either of them yet, are kind of the only anomalies at this point in time. Chelsea down in 13th. They have been lower than that. They've actually got themselves back up to 30th. Leeds are 7th. I've just noticed that. Good on them. Losing to them on day one feels less weird now. But we have rocketed our way up to, well, 4th at the time, but losing to Everton has brought us back down to 5th. Arsenal do have a game in hand, but it is 5 points separating the top 5. There's a bit of a gap, actually, from 6th to 5th there. 6 points between us and Spurs and Leeds and Everton, but Leeds and Everton yet play their game as well. But we're not here for the Premier League first today. We're here for the Champions League first. It's Fiorentina. Full transparency. This isn't a deciding game. Like, if we win this, we're not guaranteed anything. Brought you back for Fiorentina purely for timing purposes. I've run out of time. I can't get to the Real Madrid game before I need to record this. But that being said, I think a match against Fiorentina is actually a very nice comparison game because Fiorentina, a little bit like Wolves, are kind of a usually mid-table team that have occasionally popped up into European spaces. But realistically, Serie A looks a little bit wild at the moment, but usually Serie A is the Milans, Lazio, Roma, Juventus, Napoli, and of late Atalanta kind of fighting, those 7 teams fighting for European spaces. Thereabouts. Sassuolo have been up and about a couple of times of late too. But Fiorentina have sort of always been a little bit on the fringes of that, occasionally popping in. Udinese, another one of those, kind of occasionally just sneaking in a little bit with Sassuolo, for instance. But in my mind, Fiorentina are a little bit Wolves-like in that respect. So I think it's going to be an interesting game. They're on 7 points, we're on 10. So there's only 3 points separate the pair. Rennes and Celtic are first and second, by the way, unbeaten. Feyenoord also unbeaten, but 1 less win. Yeah, it's weird teams that have gone unbeaten so far. Bear in mind that we also beat Rennes 5-0 in the Europa League last year. And Feyenoord, of course, it's where Shaquille Van Persie came from. And they're 1 point better off at this stage. And just looking a little deeper at this table at the moment, it's a little wild. We're currently sat in 12th. That's fine, 10 points. A win might bring us into the guaranteed round of 16 section, rather than being part of the knockout playoff round. A knockout playoff round that will currently consist of Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Manchester City, Inter Milan, Barcelona, Liverpool and Manchester United. Manchester United have 5 points. They're only in 24th on goal difference. They are goal difference away from not even being in the knockouts. Sevilla and Bilbao currently not there. Neither are Ajax, who obviously normally aren't as terrible as they are in real life at the moment. The guaranteed bypass teams, Rennes, Celtic, Feyenoord. PSG, that's acceptable. Leipzig, Arsenal, Dortmund, AC Milan, not overly surprising, but the big boys that you expect to be in the finals, pretty much all in this knockout playoff section, apart from the 2-time most recent winners. But we play Fiorentina. Oh, before I fill in these gaps, yeah, there's a lot of unhappy people because we've just gone through what I like to call Winevember. The game is so much better in so many respects. Winevember still exists because that part of the game is still fundamentally broken, where none of my players understand the principles of playing time and how to achieve it, despite the fact actually a lot of them have been rotated in more than they would have last year or the year before. People who are squad players are still moaning about playing time and wanting to go out on loan, etc. and so forth. It is frustrating as all hell and it hasn't been fixed. The other set of unhappy people are people who have come to me asking for a new contract in November, and I'm obviously telling them, well, we don't have the funds for that right now, and or wait till the end of the season, to which they go, no, I want it now. One such person, João Gomez, has a contract running till 2028. Don't get me wrong, he's probably due a new contract. He has a contract that runs till 2028. with an extension clause. So obviously I told him, wait till the end of the season, mate. I'll give you a new one then. We'll be able to negotiate then. We'll know what our wage budget is. We'll be able to work with the wage budget. Yep, nope, he wants it now. However, there are nice people like Max Kilman who agreed to wait till the end of the season. This game also sees the return of Matthias Cunha, who has been injured for a little while. Daniel Iverson's also been injured for a while. I had to play him last game because Lucas Perry got injured, but only briefly, just for that game. So he's back. He's fully sharp as well. That's all good. As I correct the fullbacks, I believe we actually have our first 11 available to us. Matthias Cunha is on the bench, but this is near as close as we're going to get available for us in the Champions League. Some people aren't registered, of course, but Lucas Perry in goal, Bard, Kilman, Ørstegård, Aarons, João Gomez, Uriah Drago, Elmas, Smith Rowe and Bargy, Van Persie up front. Smith Rowe normally where Elmas is, Elmas currently where Uriah Drago is. So Cunha is the only concession. He's actually good for 75 minutes, but we'll ease him in. Uriah Drago, right now, top goal scorer. 6 goals for him. Scott McTominay has 4. That CM attack position, performing very well. Elmas has 4 as well. Some of those are penalties, though. Depends who's on the pitch. Particularly in Cunha's absence, Elmas has usually been on penalties. There's a highlight. About 40 seconds into this game already, Ørstegård bypasses a couple of purple players, gets it to Aarons, Rooney Bargy, and that's smacked his way against the post. Is that former Lyon goalkeeper Lopez? If I got that right, I'll check in a moment. Rooney pops that one in. Ørstegård, hey, corner goal. Don't score nearly enough of those, quite frankly. People keep saying it's overpowered this year. I've yet to see it, but there's Ørstegård, near post. Good work. It is former Lyon goalkeeper Anthony Lopez, who hasn't had a fun time of things. His conceding rate wasn't awful last year, but his overall rating was. He has had 0 clean sheets for Fiorentina, bodes well, and he already doesn't have today's. I swear Parisi was a WONDERKID fullback. Yeah, he looks pretty good. Over the last couple of FMs, Ørstegård on this ball though, Rooney Bargy pops that in. Uriah Drago left alone at that back post. It's usually when he's played CM attack he's got those goals, but he's nabbed that one at the back post. Not short, in fairness, is Uriah Drago. But Hassan does just peel off his marker at the back post there, and then charges at him when the ball comes in, and slams it home. That's a lovely goal. Looks like we might be taking a short corner this time round. Elmas. I will say I think the short corners have provided typically more, or at least highlights, than any other format. Considering they're not instructed to be as frequent as the near post corner, I do see more of them when they are short. So maybe I ought to increase the frequency of those short corners and reduce the frequency of the near post ones because, well, whilst this hasn't come directly from the short corner, the highlight has continued and it's that man again. He's very much the man of this season so far. Barnes been booked. That's not good. As the camera flips, as it does tend to do in European competitions. I can't believe they haven't worked out how to fix that. But Rooney Bargy, Uriah Drago, bam. Just seems to be losing any form of marker on that side in that Mazzala role. Is that Nico? You know, our Nico. Oh, that's a goal. I didn't see that one coming. Shaquille Van Persie with the weirdest goal he'll probably score in his entire career already. But that's stolen off Nico. Nico passes it back to Lopez, and Lopez, well, absolutely fluffs it. I can see why he's got 0 clean sheets if he does that. No, I don't think that's our Nico. I think this is the chap that's coming up as Nico in-game, Nicolas Gonzalez, who is admittedly very good. In case you're wondering who our Nico is our Nico is the one that I believe is a Barcelona prospect, or used to be a Barcelona prospect. I don't know where he is now in real life either. Maybe we could join him up with the current Barcelona prospects that we've nabbed this year. We are dominant here, by the way. They've had 3 shots, 0.1 XG. Here's another one, though. Throw in for them. Satil on the edge of the box. Oh, he's actually gone that way. And that's a superb save by Lucas Perry. Probably should have actually played Iverson for this, thinking about it, but kind of want to win it. Not that Iverson's bad, just Perry's better. Smith Rowe pops that one in. That's meant to be near post, but someone shoved Ørstegård. Judging by the fact Parisi's name is highlighted, I suspect it was Parisi. Yes. And it is Hassan to complete a hat-trick, of course. That probably would be Elmas otherwise, sitting on a lonely 6.9 as things stand. But it is Hassan to put that away for the 3 goals in this game in the first half alone. Rampant. He's on a 9.4. 3 goals, 9.4. And it's Bargy with all the assists that were assists. 2 previously known talents, absolutely going for it here. Obviously, Bargy's been a prospect for the last couple of games, I believe, and Uriah Drago was last year. Bargy I knew about and have used before. Hassan, a new sensation for me. And he gets on that ball as well. Smith Rowe finds Bard. It's 5-0. I might even take Bard off soon, if I can. That's poor ball back, but thankfully Fornals' touch is even worse. And Smith Rowe finds Rooney Bargy. Oh, he should have scored. He was offside, I think. But yeah, it's 5-0. We'll protect Melvin Bard. We'll take Melvin Bard by bringing on the, I think, not registered for the Premier League, Hugo Breno. Yeah, when it comes to left-backs, Hugo Breno isn't registered for the Premier League. Christian Buffon isn't registered for the Champions League. They get a competition each. Hector Fort might as well have some minutes over Max Aarons as well. You know what? We might as well get Matthias Cunha his fitness. Actually, similarly, Bellegarde, lacking sharpness. Let's get him some sharpness from this game. Elmas has had to do quite a lot of football recently because of Cunha's injury. He's had to fill in a fair few positions, so that's another penalty. Østegård. It's Parisi again, I think. Or is it the number 7 over there that stayed with him? It's not telling me this time what it actually was, but it was Østegård that was pushed again. Just inviting it. Mateus Cunha on the pitch, normally takes penalties, takes that one. Welcome back, Mateus. Have a goal. This is going a different way than I was anticipating. I was expecting a kind of close-fought game between two teams that have found their way into the Champions League over recent years. Just a reminder, we lost to Celtic. There's Pascal Strike. I was half expecting him to score, considering it's the first time I've seen him since the Leeds save. Also, amusingly, they have Milenkovic, who he used to line up alongside at Leeds last year, in my world. But 75 minutes gone. Is there a way I can get Alexander on the pitch to get some minutes? Yes, we flip people around like so, get Alexander on a halfback, and take Rooney Bargi off for a well-earned rest as well. Give them a little praise to kick them through the remainder. And it's a hide for them! Clean sheet over. Why buy this man on the edge of the box? Because we should have a man on the edge of the box defensively. There he is, just standing there on the edge of the box, not even marking the person who's actually on the edge of the box, and oh look, they've scored. Welcome to defending corners, where it is literally impossible if they ever get it to that man on the edge of the box. Sometimes they just pass it straight to them, and they smash it straight in. You can put a man there, but if you'll actually mark the person that's on the edge of the box for them, different question entirely. I've seen it happen less often now there is a man on the edge of the box, but whether they actually, do something is very much a 50-50. And that sends us a third Rennes yet to play, somehow. Looks like wins for Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Man United lose again. Manchester City beat Atletico Madrid to make things a little bit more interesting in the middle there. Man United currently 26th. Rennes' unbeaten run ends. Ajax peg back Liverpool. Celtic win again, so they're through. And Feyenoord's unbeaten run ends as well, thanks to PSG. Slightly less surprising, that one. Wait a second, have Arsenal played 2 games in 2 days? No, for some reason they didn't have a Champions League fixture this week, but they did a week ago. Alright, their last 2 are Dortmund and Barcelona. Celtic, PSG, Rennes, Wolves, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid and Benfica all guaranteed ourselves, at worst, a playoff space. So good news, actually, that game did mean something. That has guaranteed us, at the very least, progression into the next round in some form. I don't feel as bad about including it now. Oh no, what a shame. Go see the physio, Google. I know it takes a while for youth prospect stuff to come through, but flippin' heck. How is my head of youth development? Pretty okay. Could be better. Out of contract at the end of this year. Ake wants to leave. Current ability, useful backup. He's 4 stars, lads. But he's also 165 grand a week, so that's never happening. Aston also trains unbelievably well. He has developed superbly, by the way, as well. Wow, he's actually regarded 4 stars now. That has rocketed up the last week or so. I believe technique and dribbling may have just tipped up to 16 as well recently. Because I swear the last time I looked it was only determination, flair and agility that were in the yellow. Well, I feel less bad about losing to Everton now, as Manchester City do the same. Now back in the Premier League, the unregistered Darvic for the Champions League can come back in for this game in the Mazzala role that he is designed for, really. And Kalajic will take over the striking role. Another man who's been asking for a new contract. This might not end well. Takes over for a little knock on Shaquille Van Persie. Back to training tomorrow. He'll be fine for the next game after this. But Perry remains in goal. Bard, Kilman, Østegård, Aarons. Our best back 4. João Gomez, Darvish and Asan. Smith Rowe, Bargi, Kalajic. We'll continue to ease Cunha in, I think. They predicted a 4-4-2, and it is a 4-4-2. Rafamir and Akone on the sides. Kiergaard up front. But Newcastle struggling in 13th, 18 points. They do have some form of European football. I forget which. I think it's Europa League. They're playing Botman at left back. Oh, if I could target down that side, that would be great. He is obviously not a left back. Aarons, Asan and Uedrago. Nearly a wonder goal. Rooney Bargi, Darvic. Although in fairness, actually, Botman as an inverted fullback might be pretty solid. Well, really just runs through them. That's a lovely goal. And it was a short corner. Maybe we should up the frequency of those. Lovely 1-2 with Darvic. And Rooney's free. This is very EAFC of them. I think I've genuinely scored that goal about 10 times in squad battles. Newcastle yet to have a shot within half an hour at St James's Park. As a Newcastle fan, this feels like sacrilege. We are stopping them from doing anything at St James's. But Bard, once again booked. Melvin, control yourself, please. Kilman, that's only fallen as far as DeBast. And that wasn't DeBast, as it ends up with us again. Bard, forced to go back to Aarons, who is on the wrong side of the pitch for some reason. Darvic. Max, get back over. Or stay in the middle. And do that. Okay, come on over all you like then, if that's how that ends up. Flipping heck, Max Aarons. What I love about this is he was actually on his way back and just sort of got interrupted by this clearance from DeBast. He's like, he can actually get onto that. And he does, and smacks it in. That is something I have bemoaned on previous FMs, where balls that could clearly be picked up by someone don't get intercepted. And Max has gone, I can get to that. That's an improvement. I still see it a little bit, in fairness. But Darvic running all the way to the byline. That's 2 people try to head that way because Botman's forgotten he's not playing centre-back. Darvic, Bard. That's what happens when you have a centre-back at left-back. Bard, Kilman, Not quite the pressing game known from Eddie Howe's side, now that Eddie Howe's not there anymore, because the game unfairly kind of sacked him from being 7th. Yeah, that one was offside. That's a shame. Mostly for Kalajic. I mean, he isn't, is he? That might be just a bad representation from the 3D engine. Are they yet to have a shot still? But it is Debast over this. Tonali's been booked, but so has Bard and Gomez on our side. Sorry, they have a player called Jorko. I'm going to have to investigate whether or not I need to pronounce his name Jorko or Yorko, but either way, superb. I want to know if he's any good and can I buy him. Smith Rowe, still going. This is going to miss then. There we are. He ran about 4 yards. Of course it was going over. Who is Jorko? I am currently none the wiser, but I'm leaning to believe it might be a Kone. Judging by his positioning, I think it's a Kone. That's a new one. Smith Rowe finds Kalajic. Our left back is well open on that left-hand side, but being closed off now. João Gomez having pulled back. Finds Smith Rowe again. That's a lovely ball to Darvic. Kalajic. Great stop by Pope. Offside anyway. Sasha, stay onside, mate. That's the second time we've seen a highlight with you being offside. Big Dan Burns on the pitch at left back. Still can't believe that he's developed as he has as a left back under Eddie Howe. It's ridiculous that he's capable of that. Smith Rowe finds Kalajic though. Tonali's gone in 2-footed there on a yellow card already. Gets the ball, I think, so gets away with it. But ultimately, their attack has been snuffed out and we're on the break again. Darvic being played behind him. It gives him a chance to recover, but Darvic has continued on. Big Dan Burn in the way. Iradrago heads down to Rini Bargi. First time. What are we checking? I mean, he was by himself, so I can't really guess whether he was on or off. He was off. I didn't think about it at the time, but yeah, he is. That's a shame. Because he was so far removed from everyone, I just assumed he was in line, but I was going to praise him, but we got a highlight, so we'll wait for this to end. Kalajic, that's intercepted. That was terrible, but then that was also a terrible touch. Bard safely back to João Gomez. Darvic. Bard, lovely ball to Smith Rowe. That cut right through a bunch of people. Rini Bargi once again left alone on this left-hand side as Burns moved inwards as an inside fullback. Hassan probably should have done better, but did well to get the shot off in the first place. Though we won't bemoan too much where it ended up, as that should get to Kalajic. It doesn't. It's just dawned on me they didn't actually start with Isaac. They started with Joe Linton. 20 minutes to go. We'll take off the book people. Christian McFarlane comes on. His star rating is absolutely terrible. Clemens Riedel on there. I'm actually training Riedel as a halfback as well, by the way. Just because he's not exceptional at the outright defending stuff for a centre-back. Like his heading's only 13, his marking's 14, his tackling's 14, and his jumping is 15. It's not awful. Like he's just on the fringe of being a good centre-back in a couple of areas, but he's more well-rounded to be a defensive midfielder. So I think he will work better in that halfback role, the person who kind of just drops back and comes forward a little bit, kind of sits in front of them. Kalajic been playing terrible. Let's get Cunha on up front then. Yeah, let's continue his rehabilitation on the field. Østegård finds Hassan. That's smacked into a Newcastle player. Østegård again. Darvic. Back out to Rooney Bargi, who passes it to Dan Burn. Odd choice. Dan Burn's very thankful and gives it back again. Very charitable from Dan Burn there. I suspect he was mostly confused on how he ended up with the ball there in the first place. Like, oh, hang on, I've got the ball. What do I do with it? None of the other, actually, it's worth saying, none of the other Newcastle players even reacted to the fact that Dan Burn had the ball there. They all just stood where they were and he couldn't get the ball to them. Okay, we might as well take Smith off because he's got a bit tired, bless him. We'll bring Bellegarde on. We'll just bring him on there. Hassan's obviously had another game, but he's also a little tired. Let's get Big Scott some game time. He's only regarded 2 stars as a CM attack now, for whatever reason. In fairness, it's not his strength. It's not where the yellows stand, really, but I'm surprised Scott hasn't been regarded as our best aerial threat on occasion when we haven't had Kalajic on the field, considering he has 17 jumping reach. Newcastle still only have had 1 shot at home at St James's Park. Oh God, I feel bad for this. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, fellow Newcastle fans. I feel dirty now. Oh, Cunha puts this ball in. Big Dan Burn. Unsurprisingly, this has been one-way traffic. This might actually be the most saves I've seen any goalkeeper make, and unsurprisingly, it's Nick Pope, who wasn't even in the last England squad. Well, he's made 9 saves here. Oh, they actually had a shot on target at the very, very end there. Didn't see it. Our average positions graph is interesting viewing. Does take us 4th again, because of Everton also enacting a loss on Manchester City. Tit for tat, really. They beat us, they beat them. Back to status quo again. Norwich won again. I don't know who against, though. They beat Brighton. Good for them. It took them to game week 12, I believe, to get a win. This is Norwich's second season as well. It's very much second season syndrome for them. And that's a triumphant episode for a change, actually. Quite often when I come to you with stuff, it tends to be a bit of a mixed bag. Obviously not last time with the Europa League win, but we did lose to Manchester United in that same episode. Then, of course, in the most recent one, we lost to Arsenal and then beat Bilbao. So it's usually a mixed bag, but this time, 9-1 over the 2 games. Nice to show you our actual success for a change. That's in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup soon. That will obviously add more games to January if that happens. Same with the FA Cup third round, which is Charlton, which we should be winning. So that'll add more games. But I do see Manchester City lurking in February. And if Leeds continue their good form, they're in 8th as things stand. Might not be a bad pairing. There might be other cup games that pop in and around that period, depending on where we end up in the Champions League and indeed FA Cup. Also Carabao Cup, but we won it last time, so I won't bother you with it this time if we happen to get to the final. Once again, not a great end of the season. Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea. Sort of very much a, once again, make sure we've got everything sorted by Brighton, at the very worst, Brentford. But I'll come back in February as I normally do. The last 2 games of the Champions League will only determine whether we go straight to round of 16 or the playoff round at this point in time. And I think one more win probably gets us that, depending on how it kind of filters out behind us. There's a lot of teams on 13, so it might end up being quite dependent on that Benfica match. Both of them, actually, 7th and 8th right now. Could be more problematic than I first thought. How is Celtic the only unbeaten? Yep, okay. I'll see you next time. Thank you. If you've enjoyed this episode, do like, comment, subscribe, particularly if you're a Celtic fan. Come on. You've got something to celebrate. Thank you very much for what is shaking me this. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.